What's up, everybody? Welcome back in another edition of the First and Orange podcast. Ryan, it's podcast. I almost said Parker. It's not. That's my name. That's not the podcast. The First and Orange podcast. Parker Gabriel here. Ryan McFadden there. Denver Post Broncos beat writers coming to you. And Ryan, it's we're in the middle of a pretty crazy stretch here. 5 wins in a row, and then after pretty legitimately 4 squeakers, close wins, 2 points over Green Bay. Handily, I guess they beat Kansas City, but then tight ones against Buffalo and Minnesota down to the last minute. Pretty thorough performance on Sunday afternoon against a pretty darn good Cleveland team here in Denver.
Oh yeah, it was a dominating performance from the Broncos on both sides. You look to the offensive line; they did a great job of stopping arguably the best pass defense in the league and containing Myles Garrett, who Sean Payton said multiple times is a defensive player of the year candidate. Defensively, they keep turning the ball over, 3 turnovers again, and it got sometimes I wonder when is this going to stop? And then you get into a game, they keep it going.
Yeah.
And you got like the way PJ Locke was able to step in the safety spot. He didn't know until the morning of the game that he would play, and he looked like he didn't even miss a single step. The way he was, he was flying all over the field. So it was, like you said, against a really solid Cleveland Browns team. They put together a pretty dominating performance.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, PJ Locke, I mean, he came out 2 of the first 3 plays. I mean, he had a break up and a big hit, second down, third down to force a 3 and out on the first series. It's interesting what you say about turnovers, Ryan. 15 takeaways in the last 4 games, most by an NFL team in 18 years, I think. And so it's really been pretty remarkable in that regard. And it was funny after the game, Alex Singleton got asked about it in the locker room, and somebody said basically that, you guys just keep taking the ball away. And he said, yeah, and we're going to keep taking it away. And I just think it's one of those things that you don't have full control over that. Obviously you drill it and you work on it and it becomes part of your identity, and you can be good at it. There's defenses that are good at taking the ball away, defenses that aren't as good at it. But you just, math says at some point you're not going to get 3 or 4 or 5 in a game. But it is interesting. Of course, the players on Denver's defense are confident, but there's also this, it's almost like if we just keep saying it's going to keep happening, it'll keep happening. It's like trying to manifest the takeover binge or the turnover binge continuing. So, 29-12, a little bit of everything. Russell Wilson had 134 passing yards, but they ran it for 169, 2 rushing touchdowns after they'd only had 1 rushing touchdown the entire season in the first 10 games. And just overall, I don't know what you thought, Ryan. To me, it seemed like a blueprint game. Not every game in the NFL is going to unfold the same way, but the creativity they showed in the run game, the way, even though they were leaky in the run game in the first half, they shut it down for the most part in the second half, and they were playing from ahead, so Cleveland couldn't really run the ball as much as they wanted to. And then the takeaways, this is basically, I think this was the best 60-minute encapsulation of kind of who this Denver team is and sort of their, recipe for winning games so far this season, but especially going forward this season.
I think so. I think if they want to keep this rolling and continue to be in the playoff hunt, I think this is the way you got to play football. Now, this is not the brand of football where you're going to see Russell Wilson, sling the ball across the field, get 290 to 300 plus yards a game. It's not that. But this is winning football. This is their formula of success. And you saw it there, the way they were able to get P-Ron going, Javonte Williams going, which when I was doing the upon further review, I had to do some research. The team is 10-3 when Javonte Williams gets 14 or more carries since 2021, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, I think this is it. And you gotta and it's something I feel like it can be sustained by, especially the way Samaje Perine has been playing lately. It was good to see him on Sunday getting a lot more carries in the backfield as well, in addition to out there catching passes. But yeah, I think this is it, and this is what I think this is their identity as an offense, where you emphasize on the run game, where Russell Wilson is the type of guy that he's not going to throw for over 300 yards, but he's going to be able to improvise, use his legs, and make the plays when necessary. And he is someone that to me that you're confident in when the game gets tough in the final 2 minutes, that you could rely on to get down the field.
Yeah, no doubt. It's interesting. Like, so Russell Wilson, maybe just good to talk about him for a minute. He's having essentially a fascinating year. He's got the second best passer rating in the NFL in the red zone. He's got the third best passer rating in the NFL on third and fourth down. So just like you said, critical situations, he's been really good. He's made a lot of big plays. He's extended some plays. Yeah, he's scrambled himself into some sacks, but man, he's made several that you can count, game altering type of plays in the pocket and outside the pocket, especially outside the pocket, on money downs and in critical situations. He's a shade off the best completion percentage of his career. This obviously includes the decade in Seattle. He's, quarterback ratings north of 100. He's got the best touchdown to interception ratio in the NFL, 20-4. And then also he's averaging the fewest yards per attempt, the fewest yards per completion, near the fewest yards per game, all while otherwise playing pretty efficient football. So the recipe, you can tell watching, they're playing, I don't want to say it's not fully just safe, but they're not going for the kill shot every play. Obviously, they're using the running backs a lot. He's throwing horizontal a lot. He's checking the ball down a lot, and it's working. The thing about it is they're not the greatest show on turf. They're not the 2014 Broncos where they're just lighting everybody up. But they're playing pretty efficient football, and they're not turning the ball over very often. And then in a game like Sunday against Cleveland, you see the legs too, where they use a little bit of the zone read stuff, and he gets out and runs for a touchdown and creates some plays with his legs. And all of that is just it's not the sexiest thing out there, right? It's not show stopping, but it works.
Yeah, it works. And I think that's the most important thing. We've seen this team at its worst this year.
Yep.
So if this is what it takes to continue to win and to continue to push yourself in the AFC standings, you got to keep it rolling. You can't worry about being everyone's favorite offense to watch. You can't, at this point, you can't do that. You have no room for that. If this is the way you're able to put points on the board, this is the way you're able to beat teams. Yeah, it seems old school, but if it's working, you got to keep it going. And you shouldn't drift away from it. I think that's one of the things where throughout this year was trying to figure out. I think Sean Payton himself has been trying to figure out what is the identity of this offense? What is the identity of the group that I currently have? To me, this is it. Yeah, you might have a situation where Cortland Sutton might not have 1,000 receiving yards,
right?
But he's still an effective wide receiver, and he has made some pretty big plays,
no doubt.
And you can't deny that. And then being able to use that running game, when Javonte Williams is on, he has been solid. Same with Shamaji Piron. So I feel like Sean Payton I think he has found the identity of this offense. I don't know if he will publicly say it yet. He sounded to me, he's the type of guy that I don't think he will admit it till after the season's over. But this is working, and yeah, it's not fun. It's not you're not going to be on Sports Center all the time getting a ton of praise because you lost a 40-yard pass down the field, but you're in the playoff hunt. Yeah, to me, that's what matters. And if this is what you got to do to keep winning games, and keep doing it.
I was going to say, one way to end up on Sports Center a lot is be playing wild card weekend. I mean, that's and that ultimately not the Sports Center part, but the wild card weekend or the playoffs. That's obviously the goal, and they've put themselves there. I think just one thing that's interesting, Ryan, is even on defense. Let's take the defense, because I think there might have been a bigger transition than maybe even the players and coaches sort of gave credence to this offseason. The narrative the entire offseason was it should be a smooth transition from Ejiro Evero to Vance Joseph. They were sort of marrying the language and all of this. And even still, they got off to such a horrible start. It wasn't just that, like it was a bunch of things. But as they've got going, some guys have said like, yeah, I mean, it wasn't just like, here's the playbook and everybody knows everything in it. There's still an adjustment period. So I want to give the offense some credit and some leash in the sense that like it was going to take time for an offensive line with two new guys plus a left tackle who missed the last 9 games of 9 games, more than that, 11 games last year to a broken leg. Like it was going to take that group some time to learn each other, to gel, to get into rhythm. Like it was going to take Russell Wilson, who's playing in his third offense in as many years, veteran that he is, some time to get comfortable. He's probably still getting comfortable, all that. But like the thing that's so interesting about this, like they finally figured out what the identity is like, this is what it was supposed to be all along. Like literally from the day Sean Payton was hired, it was, hey, we're going to run the football, take Russ off the high dive, make it simpler for him. Let's not go for the kill shot every play. Let's play sort of within the game and within the structure. And then they went out and spent all that money on the offensive line and free agency. Like we've arrived at the point where you can sort of say like, this is who the Broncos offense is. And what's interesting about it is that it took a while to get there, even though it's not like they started down one path and then they changed it, at least from what they said. Like all along, this was what it was supposed to look like. And now, sort of like from the midpoint of the season on, it is what it's looked like, and it works pretty well.
Yeah, it has. It really has. And like, I'm not surprised. Like, I'm not the type of person that's surprised that this is their identity because, like you said, Sean Payton had like alluded to this in the off season that they were going to be a run heavy team. They were going to, they were going to run the football. That was their emphasis. That's why, you added the guys on the offensive line. That's why you brought in Shamaj Piran, because he's one of those guys you can rely as a third down back. Not only that, but in the passing game as well. So you knew they were going to emphasize on those running backs a lot. So it's just that like it's funny how like it's come together at the right time. You kind of wonder like if it would have came together like a couple months before, like a couple months earlier, how would their record look and how would the season look? But yeah, this is it. This is to me, this is the Broncos offense under Sean Payton, and it'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out, because it's working, and if it continues to do so, it's crazy because like if they're able to get into the playoffs in this style of fashion, this style, like the way this type of offense is pretty. That's to me is pretty remarkable, especially in the day and age of football we're in today.
Yeah, no doubt. And also, I mean, like this obviously putting the cart way ahead of the horse, but Ryan, like if they make the wild card, first of all, you'd like it if they were playing in Baltimore. That'd be a trip home. That would be fun. Plus Baltimore's got one of the best press box views like in the NFL. So that would be sweet. I don't know if that's a great matchup for them, but it's a long way away. So, we won't worry about that now. But two of them, like Kansas City for obvious reasons, like the rubber match after they finally broke the streak. But nothing would be better than Miami. Like just nothing would be better than them rebounding from a 1-5 start and the depths of, the as embarrassing as it gets when the Dolphins put 70 points on them in September. The prospect of them like going back down there for a 2-7 or 3-6 matchup would be beautiful. Like it would be every storyline, every sort of like full circle arc, redemption story you could possibly imagine. So, if the football gods decide there's a playoff run in the cards here for the Broncos, if they go out there and take it, like at least do us the solid then of also having the wild card round be in South Florida. That'd be pretty sweet.
It'd be crazy. It'll be one of like those like you said, those storybooks type of seasons, if that's like you have a chance to like get your revenge on a team that literally gave you one of the worst losses in franchise history.
Yeah,
you have a chance to get your revenge in the playoffs. That's some stuff you see that's some stuff you see in a movie, in a Disney sports film, that you're able to come back and get your revenge. And like Sean Payton was able to like pull like, and the rest of the coaching staff was able to get like turn these guys around and get them to play winning football. Like that's a storybook. To me, that's like a storybook type of season. And I always say this. I say if the Broncos do, like we still have a lot of football left. And is it like it's no like you have to give them credit for them to get to this point. Where at the same time, you got to understand that this still can go two ways. They can either like it can fall apart or they can keep it going. But to me, I feel like if Sean Payton is able to get this team to place postseason, I wonder if we're going to get the kind of like Deion Sanders post game speech after he beat TCU, where he was asking reporters, "Do you believe?" Because I know a lot of us were questioning. Like this team went through a lot from talks of rebuild to now it's like boom, they're in the postseason.
Yeah, Sean Payton could have a second bad sports movie after Home Team or whatever. I don't actually know if it's bad. I never watched it. So yeah, it's funny. Like it's one of those where the old sports cliche, like nobody believed in us except for us. Like that would be a case where that is pretty legitimately true. Like that gets embellished sometimes, but when they were 1-5, I mean, what reason would anybody have had to look at the way that they'd played, especially defensively? It's like you always figured they'd get better. I mean, I think I said that all along and on the radio or whatever when it comes up. Like, yeah, you're not going to give up 40 a game for the whole season. Like they were going to rebound a little bit, but nobody saw it like this. And Sean Payton even talked about this on Monday. It's like when you're 1-5, you can't think about, hey, we need a 5-game winning streak. Like you just got to figure out a way to win a game. You got to figure out a way to beat Green Bay. And then once that happens, then you think about the next one. And then they got Kansas City. They got that monkey off the back. And then like after the bye week, I think it was, is when Sean Payton said, okay, now what the team has to learn is how you run off a really hot stretch, of several weeks. And so like they've done that now 5 in a row. And just like you said, Ryan, I mean, there's not really any room for them to let up at this point, which gets us to Houston this weekend. It's a big one. The Broncos and Texans are 6-5 both. They're tied with Indianapolis at this point for what would be the last spot in the AFC playoffs, 7 seed. Tiebreakers, I mean, Indy has it right now. I think the order at the moment is Indy, Houston, Denver. It doesn't really matter because there's 6 weeks of football left, and obviously the Broncos and Texans play this week. So the fact of the matter is, like, if you mess around, like I was looking just a few minutes ago at the New York Times, sort of like playoff predictor model, with a win, the Broncos are north of 50% odds. And if they lose, it's like 15%. So pretty much says what is clear, just looking at the matchup, like this is a big one on Sunday in Houston. And it's a couple teams, like whoever wins this game has work left to do, but it's in good shape. And whoever loses this game has a really steep climb to try to crack the field.
Yeah, I think the craziest thing about this matchup is like, who would have thought like this would be that this matchup between the Broncos and Texans would like have playoff implications for both teams. I think that's the crazy part. Maybe some may have thought like it probably had playoff implications for the Broncos side, but for the fact that it's the Texans and the Broncos, I think to me, I like that. That's pretty insane. I would have never expected that. I would never expected this matchup would be like a lot riding on the line for either ball club. But yeah, this is a big one. This is a big one, and this is a Texas team you cannot sleep on. They got arguably, even as a rookie, one of the best quarterbacks in the league in C.J. Stroud. So you're going to this, they're no joke. But yeah, to me, I think it's gonna be a fun and it's gonna be a competitive matchup.
Yep, no doubt. Right before you started this spring, Ryan, when they were going through the coaching search too, another wrinkle. And this would be, I think the storyline would be like bigger if the teams were in different positions. But the Broncos coaching search really did come down to Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, who stayed at Michigan, and then DeMeco Ryans, who took the Houston job. Family ties there. Obviously, he played there. And like just taking away like the Broncos element of it, like it's a great story. He was a captain there. He goes back. He's a head coach, first-time head coach after a successful stint. Fast riser up through the ranks in San Francisco. And then they take CJ Stroud and it just works right away. Like Stroud plays really well. They've clearly taken on sort of like DeMeco Ryans, mentality as a group. And the future looks really bright down there with that group. And so, if you're looking long term, maybe it's something where it's not the last time these teams play, with something real on the line. But, for this year, it's really sort of a tale of two coaches in their first years with their respective franchises who have found different but effective ways to sort of like get a franchise jump started, right? Like veteran coach, veteran quarterback in Denver with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, rookie head coach, rookie quarterback in Houston with DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud. And the bottom line is it should be a really good game.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna be a close one too. I really think so because there's a lot riding into this matchup, and when you got matchups like that, everyone's gonna be playing with a ton of fire, and I think it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to watching CJ Stroud. I was a fan of his game back in Ohio State, and the way he's been able to light the NFL on fire just in his first year. Because you wonder if maybe he should have been the guy that been taken first overall. That's how well he's been playing.
And Carolina's head coach just got fired this week, so it's sort of like the top two picks. Bryce Young might be a really good player in time, but of the top two picks right now, it's going really good in Houston and not so good in Carolina.
Yeah, and that team has they added some cornerstones in the draft in Stroud and Will Anderson. I'm really looking forward. And then you got the rookie Tank Dell, who's been having a solid year as well. I'm really looking forward to see what DeMeco Ryans, CJ Stroud, what they can build in Houston. But yeah, to see both teams are able to turn their franchise around a bit in a different ways. One with a rookie head coach, and a rookie quarterback, along with a veteran super winning coach and a veteran super winning quarterback. I think it's interesting, but I'm looking forward to this thing. I'm really looking forward to this game.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, it's a big one, and it's interesting too, Ryan. I was writing about Nick Medino earlier today, and it struck me that two things about the matchup in particular. One, Denver's faced a bunch of really good defenses recently. I don't know. I feel like maybe it's gone a little bit underappreciated, the run that they've been on, the teams they've beaten in terms of Kansas City's in the top 10. Buffalo's right around, maybe just outside the top 10. Same for Minnesota. And then Cleveland's been the best defense in the NFL. So I think, Houston's got some talent on defense, but they haven't performed like those other teams, especially, Cleveland and Kansas City so far this year. So you think maybe things loosen up a little bit in terms of Denver's offense. And then conversely, just like we've been talking about with Stroud, Houston's been one of the most effective teams throwing the ball in the NFL this year. I think they're fifth in the NFL in EPA per pass. And so you've just got, not only is it a great matchup, and not only does it matter for playoff purposes, and not only is it the most impactful game that Denver's played here in a couple of years on that front, but also it's just a very different matchup than what we've seen in terms of the Broncos and who they're playing over the course of this winning streak, which makes it sort of a interesting change up.
Yeah, it is. And you hit the point there. You got to give the Broncos some credit because they're able to win games against some really, really some really solid defenses. So yep. I'm interested to see kind of what Sean Payton's game plan is going to be going into this matchup. I think Houston is 27th in the league in yards and passing yards allowed. So I wonder if they're going to see if they're going to keep what they're going to do, or are they going to let Russell Wilson air the ball out just a little bit more and take advantage of their against Houston's pass defense. But yeah, and that's what goes back to the turnovers. CJ Stroud, he had that 3 interception game not too long ago, but for the most part, he's not a guy that's gonna you don't expect to throw a ton of interceptions, or he's gonna you're not gonna expect him to turn the ball over like that. So that's one of the things I'm looking forward to see. Will Denver's multi-turnover streak continue against this Houston team? Whether maybe it might have to come in the fumble department, but I don't know if it's because CJ Stroud is overall has been pretty solid in terms of not throwing the ball in the other team's hands.
Yep, no doubt. Houston also is in one of those stretches. I mean, it's the way of the world in the NFL, but 1, 2, 3, 4. Last 6 games have been decided by, one score. 3-point loss. They're coming off a 3-point loss against Jacksonville, Arizona, Cincinnati, Tampa, Carolina, New Orleans. Or just go back down the list. I mean, 7 in a row they've played within 1 score. Broncos, as Broncos fans know, outside of this game and this past game and Kansas City, it's been a lot of close games too, going back really to week 3. So it sets up to be one of those games. And, if you're Denver, if you're any team in the NFL, all you can ask is that you're playing meaningful football in December and onward. And that's right where the Broncos are, just like we all thought when they started 1-5. So it's going to be a good one. Ryan, before we go, obviously, got to get your pick. You've been on a roll. I have not been, in terms of figuring this team out. So you go first, and then I'm just definitely not going to just say the same thing that you said.
I'm going to go with I originally picked the Texans to win this game, but I'm going to change it up. I just like the way I just like the way Denver has been playing lately.
Yeah,
on both sides of the ball, especially on defense. They play hard, and it's like they haven't proven me otherwise, and they're playing with a ton of momentum right now. So I'm going to go Broncos are going to win this game. It's going to be really close. I think I'm going to go 27-24 Broncos.
Yep, that's funny. I'm not just saying this because I said I was going to. I think like I sort of battled 2 things. One is like the streak's going to end at the likelihood is it's going to end at some point, right? And like this is a tough one. You're going on the road, played 4 of the last 5 at home. But on the other hand, like early in the season, I said you got to sort of see it to believe it to pick the Broncos to win. And at this point, like, I think you can say that on the other side of the coin. Like the team's just figured out ways, obviously, to win. They haven't lost since October 12th. I mean, you're pushing toward a month and a half. So they get a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, which is an amazing thing to say after the way the season started. So I'm with you. I like 28-24. I think just sort of like you said, a little bit more scoring, a little bit more open. Looks like that would probably hit the over if you were speculating as to, that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, a good one. And for now, let's say the Broncos find a way to run it out to 6, get to 7-5 on the season. And then it'd be pretty darn interesting going to LA to play the Chargers after that.
Yeah. If they get this, to me, I think if they get to 7-5, like you really got to consider them, especially with what they have lied ahead, what they have, what they have to deal with after the Texans game. You still got to play the Las Vegas at the end of the season. You still got 2 matchups against LA. To me, the way the Broncos are playing, I think they should knock LA in both games. I think they should be able to knock off the Chargers both games. Don't know if it will happen, but when you look at the way both teams are trending, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to, in some way or fashion, beat the Chargers twice. Yep. And then you got the Patriots, and they have I don't even know who is going to be their starting quarterback come Christmas Eve. So, yeah. And that's another match. I feel like Denver. That's another one I think Denver should be able to win. And then Detroit, maybe they could pull it off. We saw what Green Bay was able to do on Thanksgiving against Detroit. So I'm still favoring the Lions in that matchup, but that's one of those matchups where it's like, if they figure out a way to beat them, then you're not surprised because you saw what Green Bay was able to do against Detroit. So it's not like they're going to go into that matchup with like heavy underdogs. Right. It's something they have a shot to be able. They have a chance. So you look at the schedule. It's crazy because early in the season you would have thought if they didn't have this type of opportunity, now they do. And it's like you look at these remaining games that they have really a shot to actually do this thing, which is to me, I think is crazy. The fact that they're if you would have told me, I would have thought you were crazy if you would have told me at 1-5, or even after week 3, after they allowed 70 points to the Miami, after week 3, after week 3 against Miami, that they would be 6-5 in the playoff. I thought you were crazy, just from what we saw and just like the way the defense was playing. Like I knew they were. I knew they were going to get better. I knew they were going to be a team that allowed 40 points a game, but I didn't think it was going to be like this, where you're watching them generate 3 or 4 takeaways a game. I think it's pretty remarkable, and just this team does they believe in themselves and they're fighting, man. Like Denver has some fighters on this team, and it's gonna be interesting to see how they be able to do it. But yeah, if they get to 7-5, I think it's on. I'll say that I think it's on because to me, I think when you look at the schedule, there are certain games on there like there's no reason why this team should lose if everyone is healthy and they're playing the level they've been playing.
Yep, no doubt. I mean, that's, division games, especially division road games, always tough. Vegas and SoFi Stadium, as you will see later this season, Ryan. I mean, they're beautiful venues. There's a lot of visiting fans in those buildings all the time, and definitely when the Broncos come to town. So, you take some of you're not playing at Arrowhead and, under the lights or anything like that. So, yeah, there's plenty of opportunity ahead. Obviously, we will cover it all for you. You can read everything Ryan and I, plus Kiz, Keeler, everybody else at the Denver Post writes, denverpost.com/Broncos for all the latest. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube, we will talk to you next week.